a little rock and roller. Started playing in bands in '63, you know, back in those days, you had the rock and roll book, which was Little Richard, you know, Ray Charles, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley. So it was a kind of a dual path for me. I was a little rock and roller playing, and you know, I'm talking wearing a gold lame jacket and doing steps. I played with older guys. I was a quick study, so I got in through the early rock and roll guys. But then, of course, at the same time, as you well know, you had the whole folk quote revival going on. So you had all these folk guys. And my older brother, as the story goes, brought me home King of the Delta Blues, Robert Johnson. He was in college. He's 4 years my senior. So he brought me home Robert Johnson record at Columbia. Well, it had only been out a couple of years, actually. It blew my mind. What is this? And then, of course, at the same time, it's a convergence of forces. You know, we all have our treks. You had the folk revival coming on, so you were getting turned on to all this Delta blues and folk music, which had begun. Probably the rediscovery started in the late '50s, I suppose, with Fahey and all those guys. You had Underground FM coming on. You had the shift from radio, monumental shift. Absolutely. Young people don't realize that today. Now you got some guy on Underground FM that would bring in anything and play it at all hours of the night. Elmore James, Muddy Waters, besides rock and rollers, and you know. And then you had the British thing come on, you know. For me, the British thing, I was already playing music at that point, you know, and it was, like I say, listening to Little Richard and stuff like that. But the Stones and the Animals were probably the two chief British bands for me, certainly, because, and they covered so many tunes, you know, as you know. Who is Chester Burnett? Who's McKinley Morganfield? Who are these guys? Who's Willie Dix? Well, then, you know, those were the days. You couldn't just go in any record store and find what you wanted like now. People take for granted you can get anything. You had to find the right record store. So I got into blues in a multitude of ways. Playing, then, you know, and the blues always appealed to me. Then, of course, you know, shortly thereafter in the mid-'60s, being a Bay Area guy, I went to the Fillmore, you know, Fillmore, Avalon. I got to see these guys. I got to see Howlin' Wolf. I got to see Muddy Waters. And then, of course, how ironic, not ironic, but lucky for me, later on, 25 years later, I'm playing with Johnny Hooker, who was a genius in some respect. I mean, he could dig so deep. What always has fascinated me is not just the improvisational aspect, but digging deep. That's why we like the blues. So how do you do that? You can do that in any number of musical forms, but the blues is like the best, right? Because it traveled all around the world and it can go deep for a lot of people. Why? I have no idea. I leave that to the people that analyze such things. All I can do is play it. I have my preferences, you know, as far as music, but I like all kinds of music. I haven't just listened to blues. I like, you know, jazz and classical, and it all goes into your playing. You know, it all comes out. It's like reading all kinds of books and having a good conversation. I play it different every time. It's improvisational. That's the way I approach it. With that said, it's always within the context of whatever set or song that I usually play. There's always a certain amount of Robert Johnson songs that I've covered that I'm known for doing. And I'll I'll play, you know, on ideas that I've done before. But the improvisational aspect, especially as a trio, although tonight I'm featuring a special guest, Carlos Reyes, on violin part, but it's about the interaction between the musicians. I've always done that. It's not like getting up and having it sound like the record or this. You know, that's why I'm not a jazz player, though. I can't claim. You know, I respect jazz. I listen to a lot of jazz, but jazz blues, you know, I think it reflects the approach to music for me. You know, when I played with John Lee Hooker, you never knew what he was going to throw at you. You just responded. I like that. I enjoy writing music. I have a new record that it's just completed with Ray Manzarek. Ray and I have been working together for about 7 or 8 years. It's just a very interesting collaboration with keys and slide guitar, and not Doors related at all. He obviously still does his thing with Robbie Krieger. So that's an exciting project. This is our second recording as a band. So as far as my music, I make records when I have something to say, and so I'm going to woodshed for a while and see what direction I'm going to go next year. If I record, maybe next fall, I'll record when I think I've got strong enough material. Hopefully it's good music. That's just give it your best shot. You know, at this stage of the game, I've been doing this a while, and like legacy it's not meaningless, but it's like not something that I dwell on nor that I think about. As long as it's good music, then it's okay.